Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new top 5 video in which we're gonna try to answer a question I asked myself a couple of weeks ago. Which are the tanks that were the most played during the year 2020? Because as we all know, we went up during a quarantine, we had to fight coronavirus, everybody was locked down, and therefore, as we were all locked, we played a lot. So which are the most popular tanks of 2020? Here is the answer. Number 5, the T92E1, which is the tier 9 American Tech Tree light tank with nearly 11,000 people that played it in the past 3 months. I think it's easily understandable why this tank is in this top. Of course, for those of you who started the game after the 7.0, I think it was the 7.0 update, you did not know the golden age of those ATGM tanks when they were completely broken in terms of penetration, reload time, and also missile range, because back in the days these missiles didn't have any fuel. It was really easy to shoot from the bottom of the map and just annihilate whatever is in front of you. But I think the main reason this tank remained one of the top played tank is simply because with the armor profile it has, it was really easy for you to bounce shots, even coming from the biggest tank destroyer at tier 10. Wargaming nerfed that as well on this tank, as they removed the 70mm the upper plate had extremely angled to 55 or something like that. I don't really see the difference, to be fair, but hey, that's taken, and if it allows this tank to be less broken in terms of armor, because I want to remind you, you're a light tank, you're not supposed to have armor, then yeah, I'm for it. Now, of course, those tanks were quite popular also because they brought up the new ATGM mechanism and people wanted to rush them as soon as possible because we didn't know what we were in face of, you know. Even YouTubers didn't know what it was all about, so we all tested those ATGMs, we grinded the line as soon as we could because we wanted to test them out, and I think that's why all those American light tanks are quite popular even among the community to these days. And of course, on top of that, if you add the fact that those tanks were meant to be extremely fun because you had a huge alpha damage and the possibility of derping things, of course you make it one of the most played tank in the game. Number 4, the Grille 15 with nearly 12.5 thousand players in the past 3 months. In my opinion, there are two things that makes this tank quite popular. The main one is what happened during the previous Twister Cup, where Messi, if I remember the right name of the player, used his Grille below the borders of the game. He literally got pushed by his team below the borders and therefore below the map in order for him to get some crazy shots that allowed those guys to just win the Twister Cup. And as it became quite popular with nearly 1 million of views on some videos, I think it boosted people into thinking that the Grille was a great tank and why not having it in their garage. And the second factor is that this tank is actually really good. If you take a look at YouTubers, we all love the Grille, we play it quite often. Every time we do a review on the Grille, we say how amazing the tank is. That's pretty much why those tanks are popular. Of course, if you combine one tank that made the Twister Cup a crazy event simply over the fact that they used something really funny to win the game, and also if you combine that with an amazing DPM and amazing mobility that allows you to relocate and don't get bored about the playstyle, of course you end up with one of the most popular tanks in the game, which is, in this case, the Grille 15. But hey, I want to remind you one thing, just because a tank is popular doesn't mean it's easy to play. The Grille 15 doesn't have any armor, so you're gonna be punished for every single mistakes you make, so please, before grinding this tank, make sure you master the game. Thank you. Number 3, the WT of Pantoufleee, the tier 9 tank that comes right before the Grille. In popular beliefs, everybody will tell you that the WT tier to tier compared is way better than the Grille. I don't know if it's true, but I do know that this tank is amazing for its tier, and that's probably why people tend to play it more than the Grille. Unlike the Grille, the WT will fall on tier 8, and trust me, at tier 8 not a lot of people have more than 1000 damage with HE, which is the case of the Grille. Of course, it's funnier to play this tank because of HE. You're gonna take less damage with HE against tier 8 than you're gonna take with tier 10, and that's why, in my opinion, this tank is quite popular. But of course, it's the same Discord as the Grille. Do not play this tank if you don't know already how to play this game overall. Because trust me, when you don't have any HPs, you are gonna get punished for every single mistake you do. And it's gonna be a severe punition simply because people will play with HE against you. Number 2, the Sheridan, which had been roughly played by 13,000 players in the past 3 months. I think it's easy for you to understand why this tank is here. First, the hype that went in when the tank was introduced previously during this year. When it was introduced, it was completely broken because you had 340mm of penetration with missiles before putting in the equipments allowing you to get calibrated shell. So it was way too easy to penetrate your targets. Also, your missile mobility was completely broken because it could arc like something out of that planet. Gravity did not apply to those tanks, and that's why they were extremely popular. Of course, you had only 13.5 seconds of reload or something like that, even less. This tank was completely broken when it was first introduced, and everybody raged so hard on the tank that Wargaming had to nerf it twice. Also, you have to take into consideration the fact that this tank was the only light tank at tier 10 that had spaced armor literally everywhere and still has spaced armor, which makes it impossible to penetrate with HE, and that gives it a freaking huge advantage over the other light tanks at tier 10, because regardless of where you shoot, if you shoot with HE, you will never penetrate except on the turret. And I think that explains why this tank was so freaking popular. And finally, the top 1 tank that was played nearly 40,000 times by different players those past 3 months, the T-49. I'm actually surprised to see that it's not an OP tank that overcame, but instead it's a regular tank. I mean, it's a regular tank with some huge advantages, aka 930 alpha damage with HE, but still, it's not what we would call a broken tank. In my opinion, this tank is on the top simply because it's really fun for people to get around and just nick their shots doing 900 HE damage. This tank is quite fun regardless of the mode you're playing on, uprising, mad games, burning games, etc, etc. And that's probably what make it the most played tank of 2020. The tank was already there before Wargaming implemented the T92E1 and the Sheridan, so people already had it in their garage. But the fact that this tank leads to the 2 tanks that were among the most played tanks of 2020 means that people had to play again and again the T-49 in order to unlock the T92E1 to grind to the Sheridan. So in the end, it's logic that this tank ended up being the top 1 most played tank of 2020. This video is now over. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, like and share. I'm preparing a top 5 least played tanks of 2020 as well, because it would be funny to see which are the tanks the players really hate. Waiting for it. Subscribe, like and share if you enjoy, and I'm gonna see you soon for a new video, probably, or a stream. See ya, guys.